Ahoy, class. I just finished reading all of your week 2 writing assignments that were submitted, the reflections on your first critique experience during week 1. And I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed by the depth of your reflections and the insights that you came away with and the suggestions that you made. And so I want to talk about a few of those with you. So first, let me share that the purpose of this writing exercise is to get you to reflect on what kind of critique you received and what you wish you had received so that you can apply that to the feedback that you give in the future. Like, did you get the kind of feedback that you're hoping for that is helpful for your growth, or did you not? And if you didn't, what kind of feedback do you wish you had received? And this will help tell you and give you a guide or a starting point on what kind of feedback to leave for your other classmates. So I was very pleased to see that basically everybody realizes the importance of critique, and that pretty much everyone mentioned that they would really like more specific feedback. Now, this was your very first critique. So it's your introduction to this. It's a lot of your introduction to photography. And I think it's important that you all are aware that you come from different backgrounds and experience levels. Some of you are art students and design students. Some of you are not. So some of you may already be familiar with composition and color and different elements like that, but some of you are not. And so one of the comments made by someone is that they are nervous about giving feedback because they don't want to seem negative, but that there are certain things that bother them, like compositional things, negative space, stuff like that, but they want to come across as positive when they give their feedback. Well, my response to that is that giving constructive criticism, helping someone to see areas that could be improved or that might be misinterpreted by different viewers, is positive feedback. It's positive feedback because it helps them grow. I mean, ultimately, telling someone that what they did looks great or is executed well is all fine and good, but does that aid their growth? I mean, it helps them a little bit because it tells them, kind of what they're on the right track with. But the things that really help escalate someone's growth is pointing out areas for improvement or pointing out areas that you see things differently. And so another thing to be aware of, and this same student mentioned that, they mentioned that we all have our own biases and taste and perspectives and stuff like that. Absolutely we do. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with acknowledging and becoming conscious of the fact that we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different geographic regions, different educational levels, different experience levels. We all have unique taste and stuff like that. We need to be aware of that because ultimately almost all feedback is subjective. And that's one of the things that I really hope that you take away from critiques in the future is when you hear from people of different perspectives or people that see things differently, or they, maybe some people notice color more than they notice shape or something like that, which I think most of us, color is usually the first thing that draws the eye's attention. But, we're just going to go with it. Some people notice certain things more. It's good to be aware of that, we only have a certain field of view. There are always things that are in our peripheral vision or behind us that we can't see. Well, it's the same thing when we're working on our work, and often when we're working on our work, we're too close to it to be able to see everything. We can't focus on it. It's way too close. We're too close to it. We gotta move away from it. And one of the ways we move away from our work and critique is by letting other people critique it, so that we're far away from it and we have to listen to somebody else's perspective, which provides valuable insights to us for our growth. So thank you so much for that. And then a few other things. When posting your work, so here's a tip. When posting your work for critique, provide enough information or make requests for specific kinds of feedback, especially if there's an area you feel you're struggling with. We all have different levels of experience and different goals for our photography. So providing some context to help your classmates give you more specific and helpful critique can improve the quality of feedback that you receive. Some of you have some photo experience, some of you don't. Some of you, and generally speaking, oftentimes it's the people that have more experience that want more feedback, because you're trying to, in the beginning, you can usually kind of tell what you need work on, because you're still trying to grasp the basics. It's easy to see it's easier, I think, to see if your technical things are way off, like if your images are blurry or your exposure is way dark or something like that. But when you get like deeper down the rabbit hole and you're trying to create more balanced compositions or to create a more pleasing color cast and stuff, those kind of things can be more difficult, or when you're trying to exercise more creativity and that sort of stuff. So when you post your work, if you would provide your classmates some context on what kind of feedback you would find most helpful, be like, I'm happy with how this turned out, or I feel pretty good about this, but something doesn't feel balanced, or I can't get the colors quite right, or I am trying to create this kind of mood. Please tell me, does it communicate this to you? That can be helpful. Now, let me just say that there are arguments to be made for not providing any information at all and to get a blind reading on your feedback versus telling your critiquers what it is that you're trying to do so that they can help you. In an ideal situation, like in a classroom environment where we have more time and stuff, we would do the first one and then we would talk about what the goal was, and then we talk about it that way, because it provides you different information that you can find helpful. But in this class, we will mostly be educating one another on what it is we're trying to accomplish, so they can let us know if it is communicating that to them, or we're working on technical editing or shooting things and we're trying to get specific feedback on whether that was successful or not. And then a few other comments that your classmates made that I wanted to mention is, okay, so everyone's like, more specific feedback would be great. And then this person wrote, for example, instead of a general comment like improve the composition, I would appreciate more specific suggestions like consider shifting the focal point or change a contrasting element to balance the colors. So absolutely. And I do want to say that, remember that this is a rush class. In week one, everyone is new and we're all learning. So I expect that as we move along in this class, that the depth and level of feedback that you get will improve. But I wanted you to do this writing assignment early in the class so that you can improve your own feedback that you leave for your classmates. When you're leaving feedback for classmates, please prioritize leaving feedback for people that have not received any feedback yet, because there were several that didn't receive feedback from classmates, and of course that's going to help them in their growth if they receive feedback. And then the kind of feedback I would find most useful includes technical feedback, such as comments on camera settings, exposure, focus, and composition, and then creative feedback. And as far as leaving comments on camera settings, exposure, focus, and composition, if you want comments on those sort of things, be sure that you include your camera settings in your post. For some assignments, I will have you include your settings so that we can see what you did and evaluate why there are differences. And in some, I don't require it. But if you want that kind of feedback, include your settings. Seeing what other people are doing is, for me, the best learning experience, not just from creativity and content, but following the assignments rule too. Let me just say, for some reason, some of you thought that you did some of the assignments wrong, like that you were supposed to shoot different subjects. No, you were supposed to ideally shoot the same subject for your lighting assignment in order to see the difference. I'm not sure why some of y'all thought you did it wrong, so if someone knows, please let me know so I can make sure that I clarify the assignment on my end, because I'm pretty sure that the example was all the same subject, but maybe not. These things start to blend together for me. And then another interesting comment that one of your classmates wrote was, the feedback that I find most useful would be that of the translation of the photos. I love that expression because that is basically what we're doing. Photography is visual communication. We are communicating with one another. Now, sometimes our photography is like an well, not necessarily artistic, but can be an expression of what we are feeling or perceiving, the documenting of a moment. But also, sometimes with our photography, we're trying to communicate or save or share a particular moment or feeling or information of some sort. So yes, absolutely. It is so helpful when you look at an image to describe what it is you are seeing so that the creator of that image knows whether you are seeing what they have captured the same way they are seeing it, and they can figure out, does that align with their goals and what they need to work on, etc. In the future, I plan to use exposure to provide a story to my audience. I love that too, because from your exposure assignment, exposure is such a basic adjustment, but it is a powerful tool for creativity because you can, basically make it appear like the time of day has changed. But even, okay, so like for example, recently I took an image during the day, but I drastically underexposed it. I think I actually was making it as an example image for this assignment, but I take so many pictures, full disclosure, I take so many pictures that if I don't go organize them right away, I lose them and say, yeah, it was weeks ago, so I don't know where it's at. But I took a picture in the middle of the day with the sun up in the sky, and it made it super dark, and it looks so cool. It looks so cool to have like this like glowing moon-like object, because even though it's super dark, it doesn't really, like if you look at enough night shots and you compare this to a night shot, like you would know that it's not nighttime. Like there's something different about how the light stuff works. So, and then another one of your classmates had commented about how their overexposed image had a light and airy, kind of like heavenly like feeling. Like, yes, you can use exposure to alter the mood of an image. So great insights right there. And then I will approach critiques with a more analytical mindset, focusing on technical aspects and emotional impact. I aim to provide constructive criticism to peers, hoping to encourage a culture of detailed and helpful critiques within the class. I really hope that all of you will embrace that mindset, like, analytical mindset. So pointing out like technical details and things like that, thinking about what is it that your classmates are trying to learn right now, and then providing contextual critique on that. And then emotional impact, that, when you start really creating good images, have emotional impact. It doesn't have to be really strong and in your face. It can be subtle, but they will have, when you look at an image, think about it from two perspectives. What is it telling your mind? How is your mind reading the image? What are you seeing? What is the subject? What is the story? What do you think is being communicated here? But then try and turn your mind off. Don't think about it at all. And feel it. Feel it from your, like, what does your heart and your body feel when you look at an image? And think about those observations. And, do this when you create your own work, and think about what kind of feelings and thoughts are you trying to create with it. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this up there. Very impressed. Thank you so much for all of the feedback. And remember that as we go through this course and we build our vocabulary and our knowledge of technical and creative concepts and terms, our feedback, including feedback from me, should be more specific to the things that we are learning. But we all start somewhere, and so far, it looks like everybody's off to a really good start in this class. So well done, and keep moving forward.